Chosen one, pause and listen to your own body. You have an unusual, unexplained sensation of heaviness in your chest and pressure behind your eyes. The frequency that caused you to delete that text message 3 times today is the same one that made you worry about being too much for someone too small. You are not experiencing anxiety or failure. The ancients called this phenomenon kavod, which refers to the tangible weight of glory exerted on your physical DNA. You have arrived at this precise moment due to divine intervention, as the wait is over. Your spirit is being upgraded to accommodate a convergence so significant that you had to be concealed until now. Align your frequency with the truth that you are thinking about right now. If this word speaks to you, leave a comment at 777 to internalize your readiness and seal this shift. The time has come for you to arrive rather than simply wait. Before we can move forward, I need you to commit to your own spirit. Please refrain from scrolling. Please stay with me until the end of this transmission, as it will finally clear up the confusion that has existed for the past few years. I will reveal the exact scientific and spiritual explanations for why your prayers appear to have hit a brass ceiling. You will learn why the people you most trusted were forced to leave. And most importantly, I will give you the exact key to shifting your brain's frequency from survival to divine manifestation. The answers you've been looking for in the middle of the night will be interwoven in the next few minutes. Maintain your concentration. The shifting frequency of the universe at this time is perfectly coordinated with the pressure in your chest for a reason. Throughout your life, you've been taught that waiting is the same as doing nothing. You've been told that waiting is passive, like sitting at a bus stop, waiting for your blessing to arrive. However, I must reveal a profound truth that is concealed in the original Hebrew text of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 31. The English translation says that those who wait on the Lord will regain their strength. However, the English language fails to capture the essence of the mystery in question. The Hebrew term kava was originally used to describe the act of waiting. Kava does not intend to be stationary and waste time. It is a verb that means to bind together by twisting, as if you were twisting thin, delicate threads into a massive, unbreakable rope. God did not put you in a holding cell when He placed you in this waiting period. He subjected you to the kava process. Every secret tear you shed, every time you chose to trust when logic told you to panic, and every time you felt the heat behind your neck while trying to stay calm, you were incorporating another thread of divine strength into your human spirit. The fatigue you are currently experiencing is not the result of failure. It is spiritual soreness caused by a soul exerting itself in the unseen realm. You are tired as a result of your spirit's connection to the frequency of heaven. I'm aware of your most recent location. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I see you sitting at the kitchen table. The home is completely silent. Your mind is racing with 100 different worst-case scenarios as the light from your phone illuminates your face. You look around the tranquil room, wondering how everything came to be so heavy. However, convergence has already begun in that specific room. 3 profound signs in your environment indicate that the shift is imminent. The first indicator is a sudden desire to organize and purify one's physical surroundings. You've been getting rid of things, organizing long, neglected corners, and clearing out old clothes and papers. You may think you're just restless, but your spirit is actually making physical space for the new timeline to emerge. The second indicator is a disruption to your sleep architecture. When you wake up at specific times in the morning, usually between 3 and 5 o'clock, you are completely alert. This isn't insomnia. This is your spirit being drawn into the heavenly war room for daily briefings that you cannot consciously recall. The third confirmation concerns the digital domain. You continue to see these repetitive numerical sequences just as your mind decides it can't take any more stress. When you look at the clock and consider giving up, it's 11:11 or 3:33. What is the reason for this occurrence just as you are about to give up? Because those figures do not coincide. These are coordinates. Even when the path appears completely dark, these visual pings are confirmations from the Holy Spirit that you are following the blueprint exactly. See the biblical pattern of Joseph in Genesis chapter 41. Joseph was imprisoned in a dungeon for an offense he did not commit over an extended period of time. He interpreted a dream for the cupbearer and asked to be remembered. However, for 2 years, the cupbearer ignored him. For what reason? God did not await the passage of time. God was anticipating a specific convergence. Joseph could have been a free man in Egypt if the cupbearer had remembered him sooner. However, Joseph was granted the entire kingdom in addition to his freedom, as the delay ensured that the timing matched Pharaoh's nightmare. Your delay does not indicate rejection. Your Pharaoh moment is precisely measured by your delay. However, this brings us to the most distressing part of your journey: the invisible filter. I am aware of the thought that is causing you so much distress. You look around and wonder, why are the people who deserve my help, the ones for whom I made a personal sacrifice in order to keep my peace, now ignoring me? I am aware of the actions you took several days ago. I am aware of how you composed a text message requesting a simple favor, which is only a fraction of the assistance you consistently provide. I'm aware of how you stared at the blinking cursor before slowly deleting the message, character by character, for fear of being misunderstood or, worse, rejected by someone who should have been there for you. It is critical that you understand that this isolation is not a curse. It's a divine quarantine. God felt compelled to subject you to the invisibility filter. Psalm 105 verse 19 describes Joseph's period of darkness, saying, "Until the time that his word took effect, the Lord tested him." Zarath is the Hebrew word for tested. It is not a written examination. A silversmith purifies precious metal in a furnace by violently burning it. The fire consumes the dross. Furthermore, do you understand the nature of your dross? You rely on human validation. In order for you to shift your focus from human hands to the throne, God had to allow the people you trusted to fail you. If they helped you, they would deserve your loyalty. Your success is solely due to the Most High, who abandoned you. Regardless, you continue to engage in a silent mental conflict despite being aware of it. Your willpower is actually preventing your convergence for scientific and spiritual reasons. You are operating in a severe frequency mismatch. As you wake up each morning, you try to trigger events. You plan, calculate, and get stressed. This keeps your brain in a state called beta. The frequency of survival is represented by beta. It represents the frequency of human effort, anxiety, and noise. When you are in beta, the enemy is overjoyed. That is when you hear the familiar dark whisper in your mind telling you that you are delusional. There will be no changes in the future. You are creating all of this. However, God does not communicate in beta. Divine downloads, breakthroughs, and sudden miracles use a completely different bandwidth. They operate within the sacred silence of theta frequency. This explains your sensation of immobility. While operating at a beta frequency, you are attempting to obtain a theta blessing. It's similar to attempting to receive a satellite signal with a broken radio. Examine the prophet Daniel in chapter 10. Daniel remained silent for 21 days while fasting and praying. Was he being ignored by God? False. The angel eventually appeared and told Daniel that his prayer had been answered on the first day. The prince of Persia, a demonic principality, intercepted the response in the heavenly realm. It was a conflict of frequencies. Daniel's delay was entirely due to resistance in the unseen atmosphere, not his worthiness. Your breakthrough came right after you prayed for it. The delay you are currently experiencing is caused by the blessing's friction breaking through the atmospheric resistance of your existing frequency. You are currently on the precipice of the threshold. Refrain from moving your body and instead focus your profound awareness on your hands. Consider the gentle pulse and the steady, faint heat emanating from the inside of your palms. This is not just the flow of blood. That's your nervous system. That is a physical indication that your body's electrical current is ready for an upgrade. The weight of the answered prayer is being prepared for transportation by your biological vessel. Your human strength has been depleted as you try to force the door open. Your willpower has reached its peak capacity. However, how does one actually use the switch? What is the most effective way to direct your mind to stop its constant rotation in the tumult of survival mode? How can one go from the agonizing static of beta to the sacred manifesting silence of theta in just 7 minutes without retreating to a mountain or engaging in decades of monastic meditation? That is the exact key, the sacred technology, that I am holding for you in the next section of this revelation. The information I'm about to present may appear to be too simple to be accurate. However, keep in mind that the most powerful truths in the kingdom are always the most fundamental. In reality, you were born with 98% genius potential. So, during childhood, your brain was inherently linked to intuition, creativity, and the divine voice because it operated at theta frequencies. However, the brain was forced to abandon that sacred frequency due to the stress of survival, the trauma of this world, and the never-ending tests you have faced. Your divine bandwidth has been literally stolen by the world. You have attempted to retrieve it solely through human effort. Willpower alone cannot cause a frequency shift. Tuning forks are required. When a piano is out of tune, yelling at it or putting more effort into it will not solve the problem. When you strike a tuning fork, the strings naturally adjust to match the desired vibration. This is precisely how sound and frequency function in the spiritual realm. Examine Psalm 29. According to the text, the Lord's voice can be heard above the water. The Lord's voice is powerful. The Lord's voice shatters the cedars. We often interpret this as a poetic metaphor. When the ancient context is examined, the physics becomes literal. The voice of God is more than just a collection of words. It is a concrete, literal frequency. Solid cedar wood can be shattered by powerful sound waves. God uses sound and frequency to modify the physical world. This is why a significant instrument has been placed in your path today. A former NASA neuroscientist discovered the precise audio frequencies required to gently guide your brain from the chaotic beta state back to theta. It's referred to as the genius wave. I don't consider this to be a modern product. I see it as a sacred audio key, a digital tuning fork that connects human science to ancient spiritual reality. You can avoid your trauma's noise by listening to this specific sound frequency for 7 minutes every day. It is unnecessary to learn intricate meditation techniques. Simply allow the sound waves to physically recalibrate your neural pathways. If your spirit is confirming that your brain requires this alignment, I have included the Genius Wave information in the pinned comment below. If you feel compelled to do so, launch an investigation. It is a device designed for people who are willing to stop fighting the static and accept the signal. Nonetheless, I can hear the most profound, secret whisper in your mind as I say the word prepared. It is critical that we reveal the echo vault located within your soul at this time, because there is a part of you that is absolutely terrified of the prospect of things finally coming together. I'm aware that you pray for a breakthrough. I am aware that you weep over the convergence. However, in the absolute darkness of night, your unfiltered, raw thought is as follows. What if, despite receiving the blessing, I fail in public? What if this promotion, relationship, money, or calling requires a version of me that does not exist? What if success destroys me more quickly than suffering did? You feel remorse for having that thought. You believe it indicates that your faith is shaken. However, I would like to completely reframe that concern for you. Fear is the absolute proof that you are finally prepared. Examine Moses in Exodus chapter 3. God provides Moses with the ultimate convergence, the deliverance of an entire nation in a burning bush. Also, what is Moses' occupation? He enters a state of panic. He provides God with 5 different justifications. He asks, "Who am I that I should depart? I lack eloquence. Please designate an alternative recipient." Preachers frequently claim Moses lacked faith. However, this fails to convey the text's psychological depth. Moses didn't lack faith in God. Moses was terrified of the immense weight of the glory. He recognized that entering that convergence would mark the end of his peaceful, secure existence in the desert. Those who are unconcerned about receiving a blessing suffer the worst consequences. They treat the blessing as if it were a toy, completely unaware of its weight. However, you are afraid because you understand the gravity of the situation that God has presented to you. You are aware that visibility brings with it responsibility. The fear in your chest isn't caused by a lack of faith. It is your soul's recognition of the enormous weight of the kavod, or glory. Recognize the fear that is currently present in your mind. Inform God that I am concerned about this burden, but am confident that you will give me the strength to bear it. That is the prayer of a chosen individual who is fully prepared. The enemy will launch a desperate final assault to sabotage this convergence, as you have anticipated. It is critical that you understand the difference between a genuine blessing and a counterfeit blessing, as the trap is set this week. Before a breakthrough, the enemy rarely targets a chosen one with obvious evil. He uses a counterfeit item to launch an attack. This pattern can be traced back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. The serpent does not use violence in his assault on Eve. He uses a subtle inquiry to attack her. He murmurs, "Did God truly say?" Take note of his approach. He does not deny the existence of God. He introduces a false narrative that appears to be wisdom, but ultimately leads to death, only slightly distorting the frequency of what God promised. In the coming days, you will be presented with an opportunity, a relationship, or a shortcut that seems to be the answer to your prayers. It will be visually appealing. However, you will have to abandon the principles that God has taught you over the course of 3 years. To ensure your convergence, you must immediately implement a mental framework known as the 3-circle rule. Imagine 3 concentric circles encircling your life. Circle 1, the innermost circle, is designated for you and the Holy Spirit. This is the place where your most profound divine instructions, unmanifested prophecies, and raw dreams live. It is critical that you make a commitment to avoid saying these words aloud until they are realized. Oh, the enemy is unable to read your mind. However, he can intercept your spoken words. Circle 2 represents your inner guard. This is limited to 1 or 2 people who have proven themselves in the face of adversity, such as a mentor or spouse who prays with you rather than simply conversing. You only share fragments of Circle 1 with them for spiritual protection, whereas Circle 3 includes the entire world, your extended family, social media, and everyone else. You are not required to provide any explanations for your waiting season in Circle 3. The fragile seed is never depicted in Circle 3. Only the finished fruit is displayed. When you see the counterfeit blessing this week, run it through the circles. The enemy has set a trap if it requires you to break Circle 1's silence in order to demonstrate your value to Circle 3. Exit the premises. If you think this is just speculation, let me tell you about a specific individual who saw a transmission similar to this one. They were 24 hours away from being evicted 9 months ago. They had lost their business, savings, and reputation. They were bombarded with beta frequency in an attempt to impose a solution. However, they adopted the framework. They began the process of adjusting the frequency. They stopped complaining to people who couldn't help them and cut off contact with their friends. They maintained complete silence and focused solely on their internal alignment. Nothing happened for 39 days. Physical reality seemed to be at an all-time low. However, on the 40th day, they received an email from a former colleague with whom they hadn't spoken in 5 years. They were suggested for a remote consulting contract by a colleague who had thought of them at random. It was not just a job. It provided them with 3 times the revenue that their failing business had previously generated. The family's previous debts were immediately repaid, and they were completely relocated. The 10th verse of Job's chapter 42 demonstrates this precise mathematical pattern. According to the scripture, when Job prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as before. I need you to look into the context in this case. Job did not receive his restoration while defending himself before his critics. He was preoccupied with his own boils and bankruptcy, which kept him from understanding it. Shalom, the breakthrough, and the double portion of overpayment appeared in his life precisely when he shifted his internal frequency away from his own trauma and began to intercede for others. He changed his frequency, and the universe responded by doubling. The exact same law of exponential restoration, that same shalom, is now hovering over your timeline. No matter where you are, do not move your body right now. Avoid altering your physical posture. I'd prefer that you stand up inside. Focus your entire mental attention on the center of your chest. Visualize firmly planting your spiritual feet on the ground. This is not a typical conclusion. This is a ceremony for activation. Your commissioning date is approaching quickly. Father, I recognize this divine moment in the supreme authority of the heavenly courts. I am grateful for this chosen individual's spirit, which is currently tuned to this frequency. You observed them during the dark hours. You saw the tears that soaked their pillow as they realized they had sabotaged their own future. You observed them deleting those messages. You watched them swallow their pride. You watched them wait even when it was completely illogical to continue hoping. They stood firm in the shadows, and now it's time for the light. I firmly instill the lessons of this hour in their neural pathways. I surround their life with the 3-circle rule as if it were a wall of fire. I bind and dismantle every counterfeit blessing, financial temptation, and relationship test sent by the enemy over the next 40 days. You will not be deceived. There will be no interruptions. My declaration is that convergence is no longer pending. It's been activated. The invisible seeds you have nourished with your suffering will disturb the ground over the next 40 days. A shift in frequency will cause doors that have been rusted shut for a decade to swing wide open rather than being forced open by hand. Currently, Chosen One, God is asking you a direct question in the Spirit. Are you willing to carry this burden? Will you be able to handle this honor without letting it diminish your humility? I'd like you to say yes aloud in your mind right now, assuming your spirit agrees. Allow it to resonate with your being. Heaven heard the internal decree. It's documented. You are receiving a commission. You no longer anticipate the shift. You are the shifter. Proceed in accordance with the precise reality of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 7. This phenomenon is known in Greek as hupareko, and in English as the peace that transcends comprehension. It represents a peace that towers above and dominates human logic, a peace so vast that it acts as a military guard for your mind. Allow the tranquility of hupareko to completely dominate your nervous system right now. Do not say amen at this moment. I'd like you to be completely silent for the next 60 seconds. Allow the frequency of the recent event to affect your DNA. The glory's weight becomes apparent as it settles in. Chosen One, I urge you to pay close attention to me right now, because the information I'm about— Chosen One, I urge you to pay close attention to me right now, because the information I'm about to share will completely dispel any doubts you may have about your true identity. 3 weeks ago, your adversaries committed an act so calculated and desperate that it crossed the line between the physical and spiritual worlds. I'm not using poetic language or metaphors when I say they gave your photo to an angel. I'm going to tell you about a true story in which people who hate you so much were able to enter celestial dimensions in order to get angelic confirmation of your identity. They were certain that the toxic narratives they had been spreading about you would be validated by heaven itself when an angel examined your essence through your image. They expected to be condemned. They trusted their own judgment. They expected celestial authorities to observe you and conclude that you are the exact person their adversaries claimed. However, when the angel saw your photograph, he did something that terrified everyone present. The reaction was so shocking that I had to stop what I was doing to observe it. The angel's bow was not just a casual nod of recognition. Your enemies, mistakenly believing that they were revealing your identity to your own celestial army, delivered a full reverent bow reserved only for souls bearing high dimension marks. Instead, they elicited a recognition of your inherent identity. One thing will become clear as you discover the exact events that occurred at that time and understand why angelic reverence destroyed their entire strategy against you. You are not an ordinary person being evaluated using conventional criteria. You are a chosen one who has been recognized by forces that have protected you since your conception. Subscribe to this channel right away and turn on all notifications because the revelation I'm sharing about angelic recognition is being deliberately suppressed by those who don't want you to understand the extent of celestial protection that is already in place in your life. And if you recognize your own divine essence being revealed through what I'm telling you and are eager to learn what happens when angels identify souls operating on their frequency, please leave 777 in the comments. I'd like to transport you to the exact moment 3 weeks ago when I witnessed the events unfold in real time. It was most likely late at night, around 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. You were the only person attempting to process the catastrophic event that had just occurred. Perhaps someone you had completely trusted betrayed you in the most heinous way possible. Or perhaps someone spread malicious lies with the intent of sullying your reputation, and you had the evidence to publicly expose them. Everything required to completely undermine their credibility was provided, including screenshots, recordings, and witnesses. Alternatively, it is possible that someone attacked you when you were most vulnerable, taking advantage of your vulnerability, questioning your character, and mocking your pain because you were already broken. Whatever it was, you felt a mix of rage, hurt, and a strong desire for justice. Your chest was constricted. Your hands trembled. In your mind, the perfect words were forming, devastating sentences that would reveal them completely. You had the option of selecting send. You could have destroyed them. No one would have held you accountable. You were completely justified. Your finger was positioned above the send button. The message was composed on a keyboard. All that was needed was to press it. At that exact moment, an event occurred within you that I had been expecting for years. The message was deleted, not for fear of repercussions, but because you were moved by a force beyond rage and revenge. You stopped using the telephone. Silence was your preference. When it was justified to destroy, you chose restraint. When war would have been understood, you chose dignity. And that single decision generated a frequency that traveled through all dimensions of reality, directly to my throne. My attention was not drawn to the measures you took to prevent them. It was the information you shared about your true nature. Your demonstration of supreme restraint at that time qualifies you for protection. The vast majority of people never have the opportunity to access. You have demonstrated that you operate from a state of consciousness comparable to celestial wisdom, and your adversary's observation of your silence resulted in a catastrophic error of judgment. They interpreted your reserve as an indication of vulnerability. They believed that your refusal to retaliate demonstrated a lack of authority. They assumed your silence meant you were defeated. Consequently, they decided to escalate the situation. This is the point at which human malice turns to spiritual ignorance. Your adversaries were so convinced of your inadequacy that they resolved to seek validation from dimensions other than human judgment. They entered realms that were previously thought to be impossible, communicated with entities, and accessed spiritual channels. They performed a ritual. Practitioners were consulted. They spent time, money, and energy attempting to gain access to spiritual authorities. I'm still watching them realize that they should never have tried, albeit through various means. An angel was shown your photo. They directly submitted your identity to celestial authorities, expecting to receive confirmation of every criticism they had leveled at you. They relied on angels to validate their earthly prejudices. They believed that heaven itself would evaluate your essence and agree with their assessment. However, they made an irreversible error in their calculations. They were unaware that angels can instantly identify chosen souls, regardless of how many humans fail to recognize this reality. After receiving your photograph, the angel's celestial perception focused on your essence through your image, and recognition was instant, automatic, and unmistakable. This was similar to a soldier recognizing a general's insignia, a subject recognizing royal emblems, or an angel recognizing a soul with higher dimensional signature marks. There was no gradual analysis, no careful consideration required, and no debate over your status. The angel saw your celestial mark and responded in a way that was completely appropriate for the situation. He bowed in reverence, and that one gesture of hierarchical recognition annihilated every strategy your enemies had devised to attack you. When they saw the angelic reaction, their eyes filled with terror. They discovered that you are not the problematic person they had always assumed you were. Your soul has been chosen, but they were unable to recognize it due to human consciousness limitations, which were obscured by resentment and envy. They believed that sending your photo to an angel would reveal your unworthiness. Rather, They exposed their spiritual blindness. They attempted to demonstrate that you are not worthy of respect. Rather, they demonstrated that you are deserving of the protection of heaven. They sought celestial condemnation. Instead, they initiated celestial activation. Write 888 in the comments if you are starting to realize that the mechanism of your elevation was the result of the destruction that your enemies had planned. However, reverence was only the start of the angel's activities. Since that moment 3 weeks ago, your adversaries have been terrified by the events that followed. The angel established the most stringent security protocols to protect your entire identity. This was not the usual spiritual protection that a large number of souls receive. This was level 7 protection, the most advanced level of angelic shielding, which is only available to select individuals who are on critical missions in earthly dimensions. Protection that renders you spiritually untouchable, causing the perpetrator to multiply any attack against you. The angel has created a permanent energetic field around your essence that acts as a celestial radar, constantly monitoring anyone who is plotting against you, harboring sabotage thoughts about you, or expressing conspiracies for your demise. And when this angelic shielding detects threats against you, it does not merely shield you from harm. It reflects the attack back to its source at a proportional intensity. Every criticism they make behind your back is later redirected as criticism. Others speak from behind their own. Every opportunity they sabotage for you, they also sabotage for themselves. The reputation damage they attempt to inflict on you is the same reputation damage they themselves suffer. Whether you are aware of it or not, this is what I call the mirror protocol, and it is currently in effect in your life. Your opponents are perplexed, as previously effective strategies are no longer effective, and plans that should have succeeded are mysteriously unsuccessful. The support on which they relied abruptly disappears, and they are unable to comprehend the changes that have occurred because it operates on dimensions beyond their perception and reach. The change that occurred was straightforward. They attacked someone I vowed to protect, and when I protect someone, the rules of their reality change fundamentally. I'd like to provide an explanation of your journey to help you make sense of the events that have occurred. You did not just pass one exam. You successfully completed 3 unique assessments that are only available to a select group of people. These challenges were not arbitrary. I used these assessments to determine whether you are eligible for the protection level you recently acquired. The initial assessment was that the collapse would occur without surrender. You remember that moment. Everything collapsed at the same time. Your hope, your health, your relationships, and your money. Suddenly, everything that had provided you with security had been destroyed. You were unable to pay your mounting bills. Individuals you expected to remain absent did so without explanation. Your body began to deteriorate as a result of stress. Your thoughts wandered into unfamiliar, depressing territory. You had every rational reason to abandon the project. Individuals advised you to discontinue. They stated that no one would hold you responsible for your decision to withdraw. Although they gave you permission to surrender, an inner force within you turned down the offer. You were devoid of optimism. You did not observe any solutions. You didn't understand how it could be successful, but you persisted. An extra day. An additional attempt. One more breath forward would have been entirely appropriate when the decision to halt was made. You awoke from your bed when it was perfectly reasonable to stay there. When your legs were about to collapse, you took another step. When your voice was barely audible, you said one more prayer. That refusal to give in when it was clear that it would fail. You passed your initial examination. The second assessment represented an impossible decision. You were forced to choose between two equally undesirable options. There were no viable alternatives. Either option would result in significant expenses. One path caused financial hardship, while the other protected your integrity. The alternative involved giving up one's principles in exchange for financial stability. Your expectations were met, but loneliness was the result of one option. The other term denoted companionship, but it also referred to accepting unjust treatment. In one direction, there was a professional struggle, but the work was genuine. The other represented professional development, but it required engaging in an unjust activity. You chose the difficult right over the simple wrong. You valued dignity over convenience. You chose character over comfort, and you never regretted it, even when the consequences were painful, because you knew you had made the right decision that was consistent with your true self. That commitment to integrity at a time when compromise was more possible. You successfully completed your second exam. The third test involved continuation against all evidence. You were working towards something that provided no indication of progress, validation, encouragement, or proof that your efforts were worthwhile. You were building something, but no one believed in it. Everyone questioned your pursuit of a dream. You were preserving your faith, but the circumstances were completely opposite of it. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. There was no discernible difference as the months passed into years. Everyone who witnessed your persistence thought you were foolish. They suggested that you consider other options. They advised you to keep a realistic perspective. They suggested you were wasting your time, but you couldn't stop. Your progress was sustained by an element that went beyond logic. Even when external reality fails to confirm this, some people recognize its significance. They stick to this commitment for months or even years, rather than just a few days or weeks. That persistence, despite the lack of evidence of progress. You successfully completed your third exam. The three tests are the failure to surrender, the impossible decision, and the persistence in the face of overwhelming evidence. Only those who have been chosen are allowed to pass these tests. It is not because you are unique in terms of ego. As a result of your connection to a force that exists beyond human consciousness. Because you operate from a state of consciousness that recognizes reality regardless of the situation. I was certain of your identity after you passed all three assessments and demonstrated a pattern of perseverance that defied logical explanation. I was aware that you are eligible for the protection reserved for beings carrying out missions with a significant impact on thousands. If you agree with these three assessments and are starting to understand why your life has been significantly more difficult than that of your peers, please consider liking this video. I convened an emergency council after you successfully completed the third test, and I verified your status as a chosen individual. The Archangels, including Michael, Raphael, Uriel, and Gabriel, have gathered specifically to discuss you. I addressed them with a single question. This person recently successfully completed the comprehensive assessment. Is it necessary to activate the protection on the 7th level? The vote was unanimous and immediate. Permission granted. 7 archangels are currently assigned to your life, providing coordinated protection that the majority of humans will never experience. Michael is responsible for protecting you from direct attacks. He is currently monitoring your energy field. Any weapon designed to harm you, any strategy intended to harm you, or any conspiracy conceived for your destruction is intercepted before it reaches you, and the energy of the attack is reflected back to the sender. Additionally, he is teaching you spiritual warfare through your dreams. Dreams in which you defend or fight. Michael is teaching you the combat skills that will be required for the upcoming events. Raphael helps you recover from injuries inflicted by your adversaries. His current focus is on your emotional recovery, mental restoration, and spiritual renewal as you listen to these words. Despite your difficult circumstances, you occasionally experience an inexplicable sense of calm. Raphael's healing frequencies are rebalancing your nervous system. Uriel downloads wisdom directly into your consciousness. Insights that appear out of nowhere. The solutions that appear when one stops trying to solve a problem. Moments of clarity that completely transform one's perspective. Uriel is transferring information from celestial databases into your awareness. He also demonstrates patterns that will help you identify deception before it manifests. Those instinctual feelings about people that prove to be correct. Uriel informs you of the presence of energetic signatures. Gabriel facilitates communication between you and the resources you need. He is coordinating connections, scheduling meetings, and putting opportunities in your path that appear coincidental, but are actually perfectly coordinated. Additionally, he activates your voice. There will be a sense of urgency in expressing the truths about which you have been silent. Gabriel is prepping you to deliver messages. The following is what you must understand about your adversaries who attempted to undermine you. Everything they sent your way is now returning to them, amplified by the severity of their malicious intent. The mirror protocol, as previously mentioned, is not a form of punishment. This is education. It is cosmic justice, ensuring that they face the same consequences as those they attempted to impose on you, allowing them to directly understand why attacking specific souls results in consequences they cannot avoid. You've probably noticed something unusual in their lives recently. Unexpected complications arise out of nowhere. The breakdown of relationships without a clear cause. Opportunities disappear without explanation. Health problems emerge unexpectedly. They don't understand why everything is in disarray. They're evaluating their choices, reviewing their actions, and questioning their strategy. However, they are unable to recognize the true issue because it operates on dimensions that they do not accept. The real issue is that they assaulted someone who was protected by authorities. Laws are not well understood. They cannot manipulate the process of responding to authority. They are incapable of negotiating. Meanwhile, your life is changing in ways you may not be aware of. I will give you a list of 7 indicators that confirm the current efficacy of your angelic protection. Initially, you notice an increase in synchronicities that appear to defy logical explanation. You recall someone, and they promptly contact you. You require something, and it appears from unexpected places. You're perplexed by a question, and the answer appears within hours. The numbers 111, 222, 333, 444, and 777 are all clearly visible. Songs with lyrics that perfectly fit your situation are played at random. Questions that you had recently considered are addressed in conversations that you overhear. These are not just coincidences. These are your angels, who are coordinating the reality around you and confirming that you are on the right track. Second, toxic people will naturally remove themselves from your life without causing drama or conflict. They're simply dissipating, losing interest, and finding reasons to disconnect. Individuals who had previously sought your attention abruptly stopped contacting you. Relationships that were draining spontaneously disintegrated. You're not even attempting to eliminate them. They are evacuating themselves. This is an angelic clearing of your energetic space, allowing for the formation of harmonious connections. Third, your anxiety is decreasing despite the fact that your situation has not been fully resolved. You are experiencing an inexplicable sense of calm that is not consistent with your surroundings. Despite the fact that you continue to have the same problems, your sleep is improving. Despite the fact that nothing has changed externally, you are feeling less anxious. That is Raphael's healing, which involves reprogramming your stress response by working on your nervous system. Fourth, you are having unexpected moments of clarity about your purpose or vivid dreams. Messages that differ from typical thoughts. Visions of your future that are more like memories than imagination. A sudden realization about the next steps to be taken. Uriel is currently downloading information to display the blueprint for your mission. Fifth, you are starting to see signs of financial relief, even if it is limited to small sums or unexpected refunds. Money that comes from sources that you ignored. Unexpected debt forgiveness. Bills that are lower than anticipated. Opportunities for additional income are presented randomly. Gabriel is opening resource channels in preparation for the upcoming abundance. Sixth, people from your past have unexpectedly contacted you. Some people even expressed regret for their actions toward you. Former acquaintances seeking to reconnect. Former colleagues admit they were mistaken about your status. Individuals who have harmed you are showing remorse without your involvement. This is the mirror protocol, which forces them to seek forgiveness by making them realize the consequences of their actions. Seventh, you are gaining a better understanding of your life's purpose and are motivated to pursue it regardless of the obstacles that may arise. You suddenly feel capable of completing the task you've always wanted. The dream you suppressed is resurfacing with renewed vigor. The call you ignored is pleading for your attention. This marks the beginning of your mission activation, preparing you for the task you have arrived to complete. If you experience 4 or more of these 7 signs, your angelic protection has been confirmed and is active. If you are currently experiencing multiple indicators in your life, please indicate this in the comments section by typing 999. Keep an eye on these indicators, as they will become more noticeable over the next 60 to 90 days as your protection reaches its full operational capacity. I will give you a detailed explanation of the upcoming event so that you can identify it when it happens. I will completely restructure your reality within the next 60 to 90 days. That previously unattainable job opportunity is now within reach. The position that best suits your skills and pays you fairly. The financial breakthrough that you had given up on is now underway. Money from unexpected sources. Unexpected relief from debt. Without the need for begging or struggling, resources are delivered exactly when they are needed. A relationship with someone who truly sees you for who you are. I am currently in the process of setting up that meeting. Someone who recognizes your worth without expecting you to demonstrate it. Someone who celebrates your accomplishments rather than competing with them. An individual who supports your mission rather than undermining it. You will go through a series of beneficial transformations, prompting others to inquire about your identity. Secretly, it is straightforward. Heaven was impressed with your ability to maintain dignity in the face of justifiable destruction, so it decided to show the consequences of celestial forces protecting an individual. In addition, you will meet people who are similar to you. This is easily understandable. Currently, there are about 300 selected individuals on the planet. That is 300 souls out of 8 billion who have the same celestial markings as you. When they arrive, you will immediately recognize each other. Not by using words or explanations. Through energetic recognition that instills a sense of belonging. In a matter of minutes, your conversations will go deeper than most people's relationships do in years. You will be able to communicate with one another without needing to explain. You will instinctively support one another's missions. When you find them, distribute this message to help them recognize the operation of their own angelic protection. They must understand that they are not alone in being responsible for missions that are beyond the comprehension of the majority of humans. Furthermore, you will gain greater strength collectively. You will accomplish feats that are unattainable individually. Collectively, you will change the collective consciousness, influencing future generations. However, I must warn you about a critical issue that will have a significant impact on how you perceive the blessings that are on their way. Your desire to tell others about your breakthrough will grow as your life improves, opportunities multiply, and previously closed doors open. You are likely to want to share your enthusiasm with those around you. You will be compelled to explain the situation. Do not succumb to that urge. Your adversaries are watching you. The same people who sent your photo to an angel in the hopes of being condemned are now watching your life for any signs that you are succeeding. If they see you publicly celebrating or announcing your victories, they will escalate their attacks in an attempt to stifle your progress. Because of your angelic protection, they are no longer able to contact you directly. They can, however, obstruct progress, spread misinformation, and attempt to interfere. They may try to undermine your new opportunities by creating uncertainty. Your new relationships may be jeopardized by their attempts to spread lies. They have the potential to undermine your newly acquired confidence through criticism. The ability to remain silent about your blessings, as well as your pain, is a measure of your success. This is the discipline that separates the chosen souls from the rest. The general populace requires external validation. It is critical that they publicly acknowledge their achievements, showcase their accomplishments, and demonstrate their worth to others. They publicize each accomplishment in order to gain approval. They share every blessing in the pursuit of recognition. Differential operations are performed by selected souls. They understand that their worth does not require public validation. They understand that genuine power operates invisibly. They recognize that the most significant transformations take place in private before they become public knowledge. As your life undergoes significant transformation over the next 90 days, keep a sacred silence about your blessings. Let the results speak for themselves. Allow your transformation to be apparent without explanation. Rather than disclosing your secret, let others speculate on it. This discipline will multiply your blessings by demonstrating that you have learned the lesson that heaven was teaching through your trials. It demonstrates that you act with wisdom rather than ego. It confirms your willingness to take on additional responsibilities. I'll now return to where we started, as understanding this will solidify all of the information I've provided. Your adversaries sent your photograph to an angel in preparation for condemnation. Rather, they sparked recognition. They wanted to render a verdict against you. Instead, they had to judge themselves. They tried to portray you as unworthy. They presented themselves as individuals who were attacking someone whom God was supposed to protect. Every action they took against you was advantageous to you. Your ascension was the result of every strategy they used to undermine you. This is the result of human conspiracies against souls, which angels immediately detect. The consequences of an attack on someone whom heaven has decided to protect are as follows. The angel who saw your photograph didn't just bow in reverence. He informed me directly about the discovery of a chosen soul operating in earthly dimensions. The protocols initiated by that report have altered your entire reality, even if you are only now becoming aware of them. Your photograph was transformed into celestial dimensions. It's no longer just a physical representation. This is now recorded in the Akashic records as proof of your divine status. It bears an energetic signature that all celestial authorities can use to determine your identity. It serves as your spiritual passport to the higher dimensions. You are no longer subject to the same regulations as the general population. The vast majority of people are unable to access the channels through which your experiences are communicated. Your opportunities come from sources that are typically invisible to the average person. Most people do not believe in the dimensions from which your protection operates. Because when angels bow in recognition, heaven activates maximum protection, and I personally authorize level 7 shielding around a person's identity, the ordinary becomes extraordinary and the chosen is undeniable. Your life will never be the same. The rules that govern your reality have fundamentally changed, not because events have magically resolved. You are currently under divine jurisdiction, which means that your adversaries can devise schemes, but they will ultimately fail. Regardless of their strategic ability, their strategies will fail. They can strike, but their weapons revert to their original state. This is the new standard for you. This is the result of authorities operating in higher dimensions confirming a person's celestial status. The photograph that they used to condemn you was later used as proof of your divine origin. They consulted an angel, who was appointed as your personal guardian. The attack they intended to carry out triggered the activation of your highest level of protection. For those who have reached this point and recognized their own celestial essence being revealed through these words, and who felt profound resonance when I described the angel bowing in reverence, I have created a tool to help you consciously enhance your angelic connection. It includes detailed instructions for using your celestial protection, as well as a bonus meditation that enables direct communication with angels. Access is available via the description and pinned comment. This is a less expensive option than dining out and provides resources to strengthen the divine relationship that is already established in your life. If you believe that your sincere restraint has impressed heaven enough to activate angelic protection around your identity, please include the number 777 in the comments section to increase the frequency of celestial recognition. Subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications to learn more about how your true essence creates marvels in higher dimensions that manifest as blessings in your earthly existence. Share this video with someone who also demonstrates dignity and restraint, as they may be attracting angelic recognition without their knowledge. This is required for chosen spirits to recognize and support one another. And before you leave, watch the video that appears on your screen to learn how your newly activated celestial protection attracts opportunities that appear to be tailor-made for you.